Well, it has now been revealed that at least part of the reason Teddi Mellencamp may have been separated from her husband is related to a possible affair on the horse tracks. We also have Lala Kent's assistant who is speaking out about her departure from Lala Kent. Johnny J has updated his lawsuit against Shannon Storm's Bidor, and I got a new bone to pick. So let's get ready for it. You're listening to No Filter with Zack Peter, your go-to source for all the latest pop culture and reality TV tea, served fresh all week long. Now, let's dive in. What's up, everybody? Welcome on in, welcome on in, welcome on in. I may have a little Zack-activated rant at the end of this because I'm tired of the fear-mongering that I keep seeing on the damn internet. So we'll get into that later. But I'm wearing my Spotify. I got this cute sweater or hoodie at Spotify. You can see it has a little Spotify logo and it says established in 2006. So all yesterday I was at Spotify headquarters for their Now Playing event, which was, to unveil all the new features that they have for creators like myself. I am a Spotify creator. I do have a great relationship with Spotify, so I was very grateful that they invited me to see what they have in store. I learned a lot and I had a good time. I met a lot of people. I saw Meghan Trainor. I saw Halsey perform. She was like, "I'm bad at love." Like she was doing all the songs. And I was like, oof, oof. Saw a lot of my friends there. Who else? I saw they had a bunch of podcasters there. Like Jay Shetty was there. I was like, oh, hi, Jay Shetty. Don Lemon was there. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Somebody wanted to take a selfie with him, and I was like, cute, you know. But yeah, Meghan Trainor was there because she has a podcast and an audiobook, and she sings. And yeah, there were a lot of it was a lot of fun. A lot of people there. Had a good time. Had a couple margaritas. Give me one margarita. I'ma open my legs. Give me two margaritas. So yeah, so be sure to definitely listen to No Filter or actually watch. All three of my podcasts are available on Spotify, and you can leave comments on our episodes. I want to get better at responding to the comments that you guys leave on Spotify. So you can watch No Filter with Zack Peter, you can watch Disaster Daters, and you can watch The Pop Report all on Spotify right now. So go subscribe, leave a rating, drop a comment. Let's get it. Get it. Get it. Joe says, why do we want to emphasize that you have a great relationship with Spotify? Did someone need to know about? Yes, Joe. Well, now that Up and Adam and I have made up, I am happy to throw a little friendly shade because I was talking to him on the phone the other day, and I was like, "Listen, bitch, I got I have a partnership with Spotify. Okay, we good, we thick as thieves." And he's like, "Well, really, I didn't know." And I was like, "Well, next time, don't shade me." So yes, I had to flex on that, Joe. It's a little friendly shade to throw it at him. But yeah, it was a good day. It was fun. Halsey, she was like, "I'm bad at love." She even dropped a little tea about Machine Gun Kelly because she used to date Machine Gun Kelly, and then there was that song, "Him and I," and so Him and I. She, I guess, won because it got a billion streams. It got a lot, crazy lot of streams, and they were giving her a plaque for it, and she's like, "I don't want the plaque. I don't need to relive that life." And I'm like, "Don't we all have an ex that we don't need to relive?" So Emily says, "Flex on him." I know that's right. Mm, 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 mm. Baby's been consistent in the top 50, in the top 30 in the past week. So I guess I'm not brand safe as some people wanted to believe that I was. Okay, let's dive in. What should we start with? Let's talk about Lala's assistant because I feel to me it's kind of boring, this assistant story. So I kind of want to just get it out of the way so that we can move on from it. But so Jessica, hi Jessica. So Jessica is no longer working for Lala, and she's finally speaking out about it because people are like, what happened? Why? She didn't say goodbye on the podcast, and she's not working for Lala anymore because she would make a lot of frequent appearances on Lala's podcast. And then Lala and her brother went on their Give Them Lala podcast and basically said, we wish her well, right? Good for her. She's, spreading her wings. And so everybody was kind of like, "What? Like that's weird. Like nobody expected this." I did not see it ending this way, as Erica said about her marriage with Tom Girardi. And so that's what they said on their podcast, but then there was, like, a shady comment that the assistant liked, about how they wish she would have, like, been able to give a proper goodbye, and so everyone was, like, speculating that, like, why did Lala get rid of her? Is it financial? Is it like, nobody understood what was going on? So now the assistant went on Instagram, and she's just like, "Listen, guys, it's I wish I could have said bye to you. That wasn't my choice. That wasn't my option." And so she didn't really tell us much, I'll tell you that. She did not tell us very much about why she left Lala other than she wished she could have had a proper goodbye, which tells me that they didn't end on good terms. And I'm like, did someone screw somebody's man? I'm very, very curious about what happened. Nikki says Jess worked for Lala for several years. The relationship went beyond professional. Jess was even present in the delivery room for the arrival of Sosa. Lala referred to Jess as the brain. Well, Pinky's no longer got the brain, so I don't know. She probably signed an NDA. Yeah, they always sign NDAs. I was surprised that she even, like, addressed it a little bit because, like, when you sign an NDA, you have to keep it tight-lipped, like, zip, 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 whoop, throw it out the window, right? So, ooh, I don't know. I mean, something went down, but, like, how bad could it have been that, like, you've been completely kicked out? Like, did she bang Randall? Like, I don't know. Something had to have happened. It had to have been pretty big for them to, like, have something. I don't know. Yeah. We have a Johnny J update. Are you guys excited? We have a Johnny J update, everybody. Johnny J, don't we love Mr. Johnny J? Hey. So apparently he has agreed to lower the amount. Okay, so John Jansen lowered the amount that he claims Shannon. This is according to Bywig Hello Drama. John Jansen lowered the amount that he claims Shannon owes him to 70,000. Shannon offered to pay him the full 70,000, but John declined because he wouldn't sign a non-disparagement agreement. This tells you everything. Oh, this is nothing new. This is literally nothing new. We already knew all this information. Sorry, I saw it and I was like, "Oh, there's an update. He's lowered it." I mean, I guess it went from 75 to 70,000. That's the news, but that's what's revealed in a sneak peek from um tonight's preview of the reunion, the OC reunion. All right, well, that's not really anything new. Sorry, I thought that was a smoking gun when I saw this, but yeah. So John Jansen, still a tool. That's the headline. Still a tool. Still don't love him. Thank you. Next. And then apparently Brittany Cartwright. Jackson Brittany have been taking jabs at each other. I'm kind of over the Jackson Brittany drama. Like, she had a lot to say about him on the Alex Baskin podcast, and then he's like, I don't, and then she was talking about him rage texting her, like he turns into Tequila Katie, and then she came out and she's just like, um, or sorry, he came out and he was like, I don't know why she's taking shots at me so publicly, and like to be honest, like I'm over Jackson Brittany. I'm just like, end it, get divorced, let's watch the new season of The Valley. I feel like we're watching season 3 of The Valley playing out on the internet, and I'm just like, I would rather watch the show than watch this play out, and we still have a whole season that we have to get through. So I don't know. It's dumb. It's nothing new. Like this is what I used to love on Vanderpump Rules, and now that it plays out on social media, I'm kind of just like, bro, get it in check. You know. Okay. I guess we'll get to the story that everybody wants to talk about, or that everybody has been buzzing about. Ugh. I've wanted to avoid this story as much as I could. So there's a new report that just came out about Teddi Mellencamp having an affair, cheating on Edwin, and that being the real reason behind her divorce. Okay. So I just want to first start off by saying I've known about this. I've heard this rumor a few weeks ago. In fact, a lot of us big podcasters heard about this rumor a few weeks ago. None of us said anything. We didn't want to bring it out because one, there were no actual receipts or proof to, showcase that this rumor was real. Two, they have kids, right? They have young kids that it's like to drag this out and play it out on the internet is I want to be mindful of their kids. And three, like she's not actively on a reality show anymore. It's different. Like Jackson Brittany take shots at each other publicly. Kim Zolciak and Croy take shots at each other publicly. Super thirsty. Talk to the press. Talk to TMZ. Right. Edwin and Teddy have not spoken out about this. From my understanding, there's no like photos. Like I'm waiting for the smoking gun to be revealed, but it was first reported in the Daily Mail. Like I said, I've known about this for a long time. A lot of big podcasters have, and we've discussed it, behind the scenes, and none of us were really interested in bringing this information out because, again, the claims seem to be unsubstantiated. But not only that, I mean, listen, I don't. It from what I'm seeing, it's looking like the story is real, especially because a lot of the details that have now been reported I've known about. I knew the name. I knew exactly who the person was. Like his name is Simon. He apparently is also splitting from his wife. The report from the Daily Mail states that Teddy and Simon had been seeing each other at the horse stables. They were doing they were doing some things at the stables. And apparently his wife was pregnant. She was still with Edwin. Um, yeah. Uh, Wait, Nikki says Edwin is so respectful on his stories, etc. Clearly he loves her dearly. Well, here's what's interesting though. Somebody has been trying to get this story out there. If me and other creators heard about it weeks ago and now it's coming out in the press, I predicted that eventually, if none of us talked about it, they would try to push it in the press. The press has a different um journalistic standard in order for them to run a story. They kind of have to be able to confirm something first. Whereas us, somebody can just give us a low budget rumor and we can run with it on our shows. I don't do that. If I do run with a low budget rumor, I specify like this is the rumor. This is why I think it's low budget. I will say I don't think that this is a low budget rumor. I think that this is unfortunately true. And like I said, I didn't want to talk about it for multiple reasons, but I mean now it's in the news, it's out there, it's being reported by the Daily Mail, page 6. I can't avoid it, have to address it. It's always tough. Like even the situation with like Tamara, when Tamara's like, I'm on the spectrum, and I like talked about that, and that was, very dicey. But but yeah, so the report is that I haven't seen Edwin posted something on his stories. Let me look at this right now. Let me see if I can find something on his stories. Edwin Ariave. He posted that he went to hot yoga. He's with his kids. Um, he's talking to the kids. He's working out. The kids are working out. He's working out some more. He's talking to Cruz. What has he said on his stories about her? He hasn't said anything about her. They haven't addressed anything, either of them. But so the report is that she was cheating with a married horse trainer. Um, there was a heated conversation that came once once the horse trainer Simon, once his wife found out about it, then she confronted Teddy. She was apparently giving birth. While this horse trainer was spending time with Teddy. Listen, it's a messy, messy story. But the other thing too is like I remember on Two Teas in a Pod, or at least seen it be reported that Teddy has insinuated on the Two Teas in a Pod um, podcast that it sounds like he was cheating on her, at least in the past. I don't know about recently, but it sounds like it wasn't just a one-sided cheating. It sounds like they were cheating on each other, possibly. I mean, at the end of the day, it sounds like maybe the marriage was, not in the best place. I don't think they were in the most loving marriage if there were rumors of both of them cheating on each other. So the biggest thing to me is it's like I want to know who was behind trying to get this story out there, because somebody was trying very hard to make sure that this story came out, whether it was online. I believe Dumois was the first person that kind of ran with it behind their paywall. And then eventually, now it's out in the press. But Kat says, yeah, I figured if she cheated, he must have done it first. That was my impression, is like, I think he had probably not been faithful to her for some time, which then, just broke the trust in the marriage. And I think, she probably heard discretion also dropped as a result of that. Wanda says the trainer isn't even that good looking, and he went to a horse thingy when his wife was giving birth, and his wife drove him there. He left his wife when the child was born. Yeah, yeah. The Mrs. Rose says, "Don't make excuses for Teddy." I'm not trying to make excuses for her. I'm just saying I don't think that the marriage was in a great place. From what people have told me listening to 2Ts over the past several months, nobody was shocked when she made the announcement that they were separating. I certainly wasn't shocked because I already knew about the horse trainer, but like, now is she going to be with the horse trainer? I don't know. Listen, I don't know. I don't know what's happening. She's filed for divorce. It seems like she and Eddie are separating. It seems like the horse trainer and his wife are separating. So I don't wouldn't that be wild if they did end up together? That would be kinda crazy. That would be a little cuckoo crazy for sure. Um, but yeah, what do you guys think? I mean, listen, I'm just gonna say it. My job is to talk about this stuff. I don't think that this is a false rumor. Unfortunately, it is messy. Yeah, Mallory says, I heard the wife was trying to make it work and didn't tell Edwin. Apparently, the trainer had been unfaithful to the wife before. I yes, I read that all in the report as well. He had been unfaithful in the past. She was trying to make it work. She caught him and Teddy. I believe it was some text messages that she found. She thought it was a one-time thing. Eventually, she learned that it had become emotional. So it wasn't just like a physical affair, it was an emotional affair. Eventually, she told Edwin. Edwin found out much later. Edwin, I believe, found out a lot more recently. So Christina said he was giving her free lessons. Those are the extra credit lessons, Christina. Tina says power imbalance and preying on vulnerable women. Power imbalance because he was her trainer. You think he had some sort of upper hand? You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? What? I don't know how that's a power imbalance that he's like, "I'm your trainer. Now you have to sleep with me." And Teddy's like, "I'm vulnerable. Oh my god, I have to sleep with you because 'cause you're my trainer." Come on. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? Amanda says maybe she should speak to a life coach. Well, she's not a life coach, Amanda. I think you were trying to, like, make a joke. She's not a life coach. She's an accountability coach. I don't is All In with Teddy still going on? Yeah. Lucy says coconut tree is my new favorite thing to tell my grandkids. Yeah, it's funny. My neighbor had no idea about the coconut tree thing, and I was like, "What?" I was like, so much so that like people put coconut trees in their like bio to show that they like support, you know, that they were in support of Kamala Harris, that they would put like the trans flag and the gay flag, and then they would put the little black hand emoji to show that they were for BLM, and then they would add the coconut tree. And then I sent her the video of Kamala Harris saying the coconut tree line, and then the remix video. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree, and then they drop the beat, drop the beat, drop the beat, don't stop the beat, baby, drop the beat, drop the beat. Um, and so and then I sent it to her and she's like, "Oh my god, I thought you meant like people were putting coconut trees in their bio as like a joke to mock her." I was like, "No, that was like her flag of allegiance." Elle says accountability, how ironic. Yeah. I mean, I definitely get the double standards about being an accountability coach and then like, I mean, listen, maybe she was accountable. I don't know. I don't know what goes on in their marriage. None of us do. So, ooh. Sounds like the trainer was all in. I mean, okay, guys, you guys with the jokes today. You know, the train, yeah. Mm-mm. She was like, I used to hold diamonds, and now I hold myself to a higher standard. So those that can't do teach. Those that can't do teach. I don't get the joke. Those that can't do, as in like those that can't horse train teach horse training. He was training a lot more than horses. Joe says, I think she's just specific to health and working out type of accountability, right? Yes, that is correct. It's like a health and fitness accountability program. So Marianne Stout says they both cheated, should have divorced years ago. Well, they had young kids, and that's what I think people have to remember and what we have to factor in. I know people hate Teddi. I get it. They don't like her, but I mean, I guess this doesn't make her that more likable. Teddy, I'm sorry, I'm trying here, but like, this doesn't make you more likable. I love you, my love, but like, I'm trying. I'm trying. Nikki says, I'm Zactivated about the Jess thing. Look at how you address the Jeff matter with kindness and respect for your community. I really appreciated understanding both sides on disaster daters. Oh, you want Lala and Jess to go on, give them Lala and hash out their beef? First of all, that wasn't planned. Like, I want everybody to know that when Jeff and I taped that episode of Disaster Daters, I didn't know he was genuinely so upset with me that he didn't want to film that day. And it just came out on camera. And listen, it was our best episode, like better than the Tom Schwartz episode, like better than the Chef Stew episode. Like that episode was like had people hooked and riveted, and um it was a lot for sure. Christina said, I bet she'll do an exclusive interview with Tamara about it because how do you continue on a pod without discussing? I don't know. I think she should address it or address it in some way. I mean, here's the thing, it's not going to go away, like, and at least you can stay ahead of the narrative by talking about it and not giving a comment to the press, but like talking about it on your platform. I think that that's the best thing for her to do is to at least be like, listen, I get it. I filed for divorce. I'm going through a tough time. I'm trying to focus on my kids right now. It is hard though, because it's like, and Bethany talked about this. She's like, listen, when you share your lives publicly, we're there for your rise and we're there for your fall. Right? Like we're on the journey with you. So you can't like the attention when it's favorable and then want to step away when you want to have a private life when you've chosen to make your life public. So I mean, I get it. I get it from both sides. And I think it's different where you have like a Kim Zolciak and a Croy Bierman who are messy and taking shots at each other and calling the police on each other and talking to TMZ. And then you have like a Brittany and Jax who are actively on a reality show and they put their kid on television, they put their lives on television, and they put the mess of their messy relationship out there for the world to consume and have opinions about. But I do think it is hard because then there are times like this where there are double standards where like you do talk about headlines, you talk about other people in the headlines, and now you happen to be in the headlines yourself and you can't really run from it, you know? Dante says it shouldn't be hard because as a podcast or someone who does this for a living, all you guys should do is be forthcoming when you hit the press. That's how I live my life, but I also don't have young kids. You know what I mean? Like, I can imagine because this is, about her family and her kids are young and involved, it makes things a bit more challenging that for her to talk about these things. But then again, it's like if you don't talk about it, like, I don't think that makes it go away. It just adds more speculation. Joe says Disaster Dater season 3 potential episodes. Do an episode with the husbands, do an episode with Bill Smith, and do no. I can veto your last 2 suggestions, Joe. I don't know if I would do an episode with the husbands. I think that it would be compelling, but, like, we would have to rehash everything, and I think at this point, me and the husbands are ready to just not rehash everything and just move forward, right? Because I think people would be wildly riveted by that, but, I don't know. There are also just some things that don't need to play out publicly, right? Like, there are parts of that we don't need to make public that I think are like, the differences with, like, me and Jeff, we had nothing that's not true. I was gonna say we had nothing to hide because there were parts of that conversation that we weren't allowed to talk about on the show either because we wanted to be respectful of other people, but it's tough, okay? When y'all put your asses and your lives out on the internet and you live as openly and authentically as I do, then you can have your judgments, okay? I still give it to you straight. Zach, is there members only tonight? Yes, today is Thursday. There will be members only today. Um, Joe says, yeah, episode with the husbands would be to talk about your part in attempting to break up their marriage. I did not try to break up their marriage. I've made that clear many times. I never tried to break up their marriage. Um, we're moving on from this. Again, a lot of mistruths were spoken about me, and eventually the truth came out. Dante says, I just think to talk about other people every day when something comes off about you, like Wendy Williams, you shouldn't be in this line of work. I agree. I'm with you. But again, I also understand you might want to protect the kids and not put them through that. But it's like it's a tough situation. If I were in her situation, I would absolutely just address it head on and be like, Listen, here's the truth." Or if you want to do an episode with Edwin, I don't think that's a bad thing either to be like, "Listen, this is where we're at in our relationship. Obviously, our relationship hasn't been perfect. We're trying to figure it out, and when we figured it out, you will know about it. But as of right now, we're in the process of trying to figure it out." I don't think the best strategy is to just completely pretend it's not happening because I think all that does is add more speculation and then people continue to run with their own narratives, which I think can be more damaging to your family because then people are going to put out mistruths and they're going to pick apart things that, they want to hyperbolize and zoom into and make bigger than they actually are. But if you put your truth out, you put a period on it, I think that at least helps and people can take it from there. So, yeah. Nikki says, "This is why I wanted to flag how respectful and authentic you are to your audience because Teddy and Lala are just hiding from the truth." Listen, I've never hid from the truth. I've also been doing, well, I was gonna say I've been doing this a lot longer than Teddy and Lala in terms of their podcasts. But I mean, Lala's lived her life on Vanderpump Rules for what, 8 years now. Teddy lived her life for what was it, 4 seasons on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So it's similar, but also very different. I guess they're also not in control of the edits of those shows. But listen, I'm somebody that leads with honesty and transparency. And I feel like by being honest and transparent, anytime a narrative has tried to deviate away from who I know I am, I've never had to really fight to prove that because I've already shown people and proven to them who I am. And anybody that listens to my show knows me, even at my messiest. So, well, Janelle, should we move on? We'll see. I mean, listen, if Teddy is going through a divorce, if she is, I wish her well, and I hope the horse D is, you know, hopefully giving her some sexual healing in all of this. But yeah, send in love to Teddy and the fam. Hopefully she and Edwin can work through it. And, whether that's to stay together in the end or find a way back to each other or, part ways amicably, I'm totally cool and down for all of that. But we are knee deep into the start of the holiday season. And listen, if you're like me, I think you should spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible handpicked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts that spark joy, wonder, delight, and that it's exactly what I wanted feeling. They scour the globe for original handmade, absolutely remarkable things, and somehow they just know exactly the perfect gift for every person that you know. I mean, today I'm wearing my Spotify sweater, but you've seen me wear my dog father sweater, which everybody always compliments me on. I love the customizable barware, which I'm always talking about. I just love how they have different lists that are dedicated to each of the individual people that you have in your lives, from like holiday hosts and hostess gifts to the coolest finds for kids. So they have everyone from, your in-laws to the little ones, to hits for everyone from book lovers to diehard sports fans. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone. It's not the same old selection that you can find just anywhere. So you're not even going to run into that issue. Sometimes you get a gift for somebody and then you saw somebody else got that same gift for them. This is probably not going to happen on Uncommon Goods because everything is so unique that you can tailor it to something special from that says that it's special from you and special for them, right? Even better, with every purchase you make, Uncommon Goods gives back $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. So you can feel good about your purchase. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/nofilter. That's uncommongoods.com/nofilter for 15% off. You can also use code NOFILTER at uncommongoods.com/nofilter. Don't miss out on this limited time offer, Uncommon Goods. We're all out of the ordinary. While we're on the topic of the holidays, it's the holiday season. The holiday season. We also know that we're going to be inundated with all the sugar and all the carbs. And yes, it's going to be yummy and deliciousness. But one thing you don't want for you or your kiddos is to get stuck on that sugar rampage. Am I right? Don't worry, because I got your new holiday season secret weapon, and that is BioRay, specifically their new teens line that they just launched called Raise by BioRay for teens who want to feel good. So if you want to help your teens feel good, I suggest you check out their new Raise line. My family's been taking BioRay supplements for well over a decade at this point. BioRay formulas are the plant-based medicine that you've been looking for. They're in tasty liquid tinctures, perfect for the whole family. And like I said, their new Raise line is great for helping those angsty teens. Life is Peachy drops help calm you down when those moods are getting a little crazy, and they help bring on the peachy vibes. Thinking cap drops help with the ability to stay alert and pay attention. That's kind of what I like to use when I have a long day of taping, because I have all the tabs open in my brain. So if I have a long day of recording and live streaming and meetings, thinking cap, that's my go-to. They also have All Systems Glow, which is a nutritious boost that can help charge those picky eaters. I know some of you got some picky eaters. So if you want to keep them healthy and fully nutritious, check out All Systems Glow. And then they also have Dream Machine, which can help your teens unwind from those noisy thoughts before bed. So if they have trouble, the Dream Machine drops from Raise are also really good. Whatever you need, BioRay has you covered. Give Raise by BioRay a try today as well. You can use code Zack, Z-A-C-K, for 10% off your next order right now at BioRay.com. That's code Zack, Z-A-C-K, at BioRay, B-I-O-R-A-Y, BioRay.com right now, and score that 10% off. Your teens will thank you, and you'll thank me. So go check them out. Ooh-wee. Okay. What else? I don't think there's any. So we talked about Johnny J. We talked about Jax and Brittany. We talked about yeah, because Jax was not happy about Brittany's comments about him on the what do you call it? On the Hot Mic podcast with Alex Baskin. There's just so much. Da, 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 da. Oh, here we go. What is this? On Entertainment Tonight. Uh-oh. A source close to Teddi has revealed her side of the story, and they confirmed that Teddi did cheat, but Edwin did too. Okay, see, I was right. I was right. Okay, so let's continue on with this Teddi story. According to Entertainment Tonight, I'm just going to read this directly because this came in literally just right now. The recent rumors surrounding Teddi Mellencamp's marriage are somewhat true, but it's not the scandal people want it to be. Oh, okay. The source confirms that the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star did cheat on her husband Edwin with horse trainer Simon Schroeder, though Teddi has been trying to end her marriage for quite some time and finally got the balls to do it. Now the reality star is done living in fear about her infidelity going public. Teddi's kids are her top priority, and she wants to protect them as best she can. Edwin's making it hard, though. This so-called affair has been blown out of proportion. Teddi owns that she made mistakes in her own marriage, but this is turning into chaos that needs to end. The source also alleges that Edwin, who married Teddi in 2011, has had his own indiscretions within the marriage, which Teddi forgave, but still wants to make it work with his wife. Wait, what? So he's had his own indiscretions, but still wants to make it work with his wife. So it looks like Teddi wants to be done with the relationship. Edwin still wants to fight to make it work. He's cheated on her from what this sounds like, and she forgave him for that. Another source close to Edwin tells ET he was unfaithful 8 years ago, and at that point, he had a period of self-reflection and focused more on his family and his faith, and there were no indiscretions since then. Reps for Teddi and Edwin had no comment. ET has also reached out for comment from Simon, who recently ended his marriage to Carly Pastel. Okay, here's the thing. and I told you guys that this happens often. Listen, my job is to talk about these things, and if we're gonna be releasing comments, I'm gonna talk about them. It sounds to me like Teddy and Edwin gave these comments off the record. This happens often, right? This happens a lot more than people realize. Press will come to you. I've often, trust me, I have friends, and this is kind of the strategy that I tell them with. I was like, listen, if you don't want to go on the record and say anything, because listen, things can always be taken out of context or they can chop up your quotes, and then that makes it look worse. However, dun dun dun. However, what I will say, um, is that what I tell them to do, because I remember I had a friend that had a story that I think came out in the Daily Mail about him dating Matt Rogers, and I was like, "Listen, what you should do is you can get ahead of this by giving a quote to the reporter, but make sure you say that the quote is off the record so that they can say they have a source that gave them this quote, and you can speak about yourself in the third person. That way, they're more likely to trust you because you're a reliable source because they know who you are, but they want to keep you anonymous and they want to get, help you get your side out. So it kind of sounds the way that these read, it kind of sounds like maybe Teddy gave an off the I mean, I don't know if that's true. That's my own speculation, but it does kind of sound like she gave a statement to Entertainment Tonight and the or Ed also calling him Eddie because, like, Eddie because it's Teddy and Edwin, um, so Teddy, Edwin, together they make Eddie. Listen, this is cray cray. Insane in the membrane, insane, got no brain. Insane in the membrane. I said insane, got no brain. Insane, got no brain. So I mean, but I think he is commenting on this because then we hear him say that, or we hear the source close to Eddie say that he cheated on her 8 years ago. So it's like we're specifying that you know, this isn't a recent encounter. He's moved on from that, which maybe they did work through. I personally think that they may have been unfaithful to each other. I think he may have I don't know, I just don't believe that he cheated one time 8 years ago. I don't know, once a cheater, always a cheater, but then you kind of have to hold that same standard to her. I'm trying to understand. I'm trying, but that's where we're at. That's what we got. Oy vey. Um, but feel free to weigh in on the live chat. Let me know what you guys think, and how you're feeling about all of this because it's a lot to take. It's a lot to take in. Okay. Teddy's fam never approved of their relationship. I mean, Tedwin. I don't think I wanted to call him Tedwin. Nikki says, "From now on, I am the source. Come at me with your sordid secrets." Um, Russ said she got comfortable making that 2 T's money and can do it alone. Yeah, I think she's doing fine with the 2 T's money. I think she's financially solid. Messy, messy. Messy, messy for sure. But you know what's also messy, messy? Just to divvy over, because I said that like there's a lot of fear mongering that's going on the internet, and want to try as best as I can to maybe help diffuse some people's fears because I keep seeing these like insane headlines, especially now following the election. And listen, I'm doing this to put out positive information and hopefully ease some people's anxieties by, you know, just trying to put out pieces of info, debunk some stuff, but also, just like ease our anxieties, right? I think, I like to stay away from the panic porn. I like to stay away from the fear mongering because I think that's a big part of how we got to the place that we got to with the result of the election this year. I understand not everybody wants positive news. Some people want somebody to hate. They want to, dislike Donald Trump, and there's nothing that can be said that will ever sway them. My intention is never to sway you or to get you to like him because trust me, he makes himself very unlikable a lot of the times. But I do want to combat fear mongering, right? Because he's announced some of his cabinet picks and the headlines that I'm seeing come from this are just so ridiculous to me, and it is disheartening because I feel like after last week's episode, right, where I talked about how I think the Democratic Party really bombed this campaign, and to listen to some of the comments that they're making and to listen to some of them doubling down, like to watch The View and see like Sunny and Joy blame the American people, and to see that it went from the American people are racist and sexist and um, all of this stuff, which is strange to call them sexist and racist considering Hillary Clinton won the popular vote in 2016 and Barack Obama also won his two the elections that he was in, and he had 2 terms as president. So I don't think that Kamala Harris didn't win because our country is racist and misogynist, right? I think Kamala Harris was not a great candidate at all, and anybody that wants to twist themselves in a pretzel to think that she was is just unfortunately lying to themselves. But so I was watching, or I saw a clip going around from, I saw a clip going around from Joy Reid and I guess Whoopi Goldberg also. They were talking about Donald Trump's new defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, who, well, first of all, let's just have a moment of because I love a thirsty moment. So let's just have a moment of appreciation for Mr. Hegseth, Pete. But so it was so interesting to me because I was seeing that these headlines and I was seeing like not Joy, I was seeing Whoopi and I was seeing Joy Reid, like scoff and laugh at this pick, right? They're like, oh, how stupid is he? He picked him and he's just a Fox News host. And this is what gets me so angry about, that they want to fight for misinformation, but yet they selectively, you'll notice on this week's episode of the Pop Report, there's a article that came out from Billboard about Chappell Roan, who I don't really care for and have been very critical of in the past. And Chappell Roan was dropped by her management team, but she was dropped by her management team a month ago, and she was dropped because her career has grown this year, and her management team was just a little too small to manage the career that she was now entering. Right. So it made sense. But the way Billboard presented it was like, oh, she's been a controversial person lately, and now her management team has dropped her. And so it was just completely taken out of context with Chappell Roan. And so even though I've been really critical of Chappell Roan, I defended Chappell in this week's episode of the Pop Report, which you can listen to now or watch on Spotify or YouTube. And I was like, this is what frustrates me is that that journalists know what they're doing. It's not too different from the way that you'll see people on YouTube use clickbait to get you to watch their videos, right? It's a lot of clickbait, it's a lot of panic porn. And so when I was seeing these journalists go around and laugh at Pete Hegseth as, a Fox News host, and that's all he is, and LOL, what a dumb pick for defense secretary. I was like, hold on, wait a minute. He's actually, one, he's hot, but like two, he's actually somebody that does have credentials. He's not just a Fox News host. But I think when you do that, it's dishonest to the American people, and it doesn't, all it does is continue to make our current or our forthcoming slash previous president look like an imbecile, which I think, listen, he has a lot of flaws that I cannot defend and that I will never defend. But I think that, this is why the American people have lost faith in the mainstream media. It's why they've lost faith in, these shows is because they misrepresent things, they misreport things, and they do it willingly because they're trying to display a narrative that is dishonest to the American people. Okay. So let's talk about, Donald Trump's newly appointed defense secretary. Well, these are the people that he's appointed. We'll see what happens in the coming months and who actually ends up being in his cabinet. But let's talk about Pete for a second, right? Because he is a Fox News host, but he's actually also an Army combat veteran, toured in Guantanamo Bay, toured in Iraq, and toured in Afghanistan. He's also a Princeton and Harvard University graduate. So he's smart, right? Because a lot of these newscasters want to talk about how they're so much smarter than the American people. So he does have some credentials. Not only is he a veteran that fought for our country, he is also Harvard and Princeton educated. He has 2 Bronze Stars for his service. And he also currently happens to be a Fox News host. That is not his only credential, right? He's worked at Fox for the last 8 years. So he's also a New York Times bestselling author. He wrote the book, The War on Warriors. He's led 2 advocacy groups for, veterans and warriors, which I think is like, listen, this is somebody I think we have to give credit where credit is due. I think this is somebody that cares about our veterans, somebody that cares about our troops. So as someone to lead the defense or to lead our country as defense secretary, I don't think that this is a bad pick, right? I'm not in love with all of the appointed cabinet members that have been announced thus far. I don't think he's one of the worst. I think for us to continue to lead with this narrative that all he is a TV host and he has no credentials, I think that that is it's sensationalized panic porn that makes people feel not safe with the leaders in our country, which I think is dangerous because I think had Kamala Harris won, nobody would have been picking apart her cabinet members as, picking them apart with a fine tooth comb and hyperbolizing things and sensationalizing things the way that they're doing right now, which I think is, again, dishonest to the American people and why the American people have lost faith in the mainstream media. I just think they want to blame the American people for being dumb, but it's like, how can they trust you if you're not honest when you display information like this and you laugh at an appointment like Pete and you say, oh, he's just a Fox News host. Listen, if you don't like his politics, if you don't like what he's done, or what his positions are on certain issues, then pick him apart for that, right? But to reduce him, I think I take this personal because there was a hit piece that was put out against me many years ago, and I remember, the way that I was referred to in this article, which was clearly a hit piece, the way that I was referred to, like, reduced my credentials in that field. And I was like, that's so dishonest, right? I was the executive director of a national leading foundation that helped families affected by autism. And because I happened to be young, the reporter positioned me as somebody that was inexperienced. And so she referred to me as, he's currently the executive director, but he was formerly an intern. And I was like, that's so dishonest. And I get it. You're writing a hit piece and you want to make the organization look bad with your false narrative, right? With your preset narrative that you want to write about. However, yes, it is true. I was an intern for this organization, but I was an intern 9.5 years ago and have since held 4 other titles before becoming the executive director. So I've been with this foundation for nearly a decade, held several different titles and worked my way up. But sure, I was an intern when I was, 18 how many years ago? 17 how many years ago? Yeah, I used to be a volunteer. But it's like when you misrepresent information like that, it's dishonest. But then that narrative was to make it look like I didn't have any credentials. So I do take stuff like this personally because you can see right through it. And it's, again, dishonest. And so for people that want to fight for misinformation and then they pull shit like this, or another appointment, Trump has picked Tulsi Gabbard for director of national intelligence, right? Despite these unsubstantiated claims that she's a Russian plant, right? That's a fun little, Reddit rumor that people want to throw around there, but she is a former congresswoman. She's a former veteran, or she is a veteran, right? You're not a former veteran, you're a current veteran, but you formerly served on behalf of our country. And she was also a 2020 Democratic Party presidential candidate, right? Who outperformed Kamala Harris in the 2020 primaries. She had a moment where she completely picked Kamala apart in the 2020 primary debates. She served in the Hawaii State House of Representatives prior to her 8 years as a member of the Armed Forces, Homeland Security, and Foreign Affairs committees. She also has a book that came out earlier this year called For the Love of Country, For the Love of Our Country, which was a New York Times bestselling book. So, these are people that do have credentials. I'm not saying that every one of um, these cabinet appointments are perfect or that they're great. I don't agree with all of them. I don't like all of them. I just don't like the fear mongering. I saw an article today that's like, oh, Trump's appointing all these people that are they're anti-LGBT, which is also just completely exaggerated, and just completely misrepresents the intention behind what these cabinet appointments are for. So I don't like the misinformation. I don't like that there's a double standard. I don't like when the press and the media lie to us because we need to be able to trust them to be honest. These are just two examples, right? I can't go through every single headline. My show is not political, but my show is called No Filter with Zack Peter. I promised that I was going to try to come on here and at least deliver positive news or add context to sensationalized panic porn. And I will continue to do that. I get that a lot of people don't like Donald Trump. I'm not trying to endorse him. I'm not trying to stand up for him, but I'm just saying we do need to stop looking like every single thing. Oh my God, he walked out the door and he put his left foot forward first. What a terrible person. He didn't start with his right foot. How dare he? It's like the things that we pick apart are so fucking stupid when there are issues that matter to the American people that are so much more important. And none of these press agencies are willing to throw a dog about. I mean, look at the way, when he appointed his chief of Susie Wiles, right? When he appointed her as his chief of staff, and she was the first ever woman in our U.S. history to be appointed as a chief of staff. No, none of the press really picked up on that piece, right? They're like, oh, he picked this lady and she's probably going to be dangerous for our country. But yet, identity politics has been so big in our country for the past specifically the past 4 years, but also the past 8 years, right? Since the 2016 election, identity politics has become such a big thing that it's like, if identity politics is so important, then why isn't the press praising Susie for being the first ever female in US history to become a chief of staff for a president? You know, like it's ridiculous, and there's these double standards. I saw even Michael Rappaport was ranting about this on X, and I was like, you know what? For once, I think Michael Rappaport and I are on the same page. We don't agree often. He's also a little crass sometimes, but I like that he can admit that, like, listen, we have been duped by the media. And there's a reason why podcasts and new media are starting to trump traditional media, right? Because traditional media is really eating their own hand, right? They're killing themselves off at this point because they're losing faith in the American people more and more, and seeing them double down on these things, or to see them be so out of touch with reality. Like when I saw 2 days after the election, when Joy Behar went on The View and and listed all the things that the Democratic Party stood for. And she's like, and we did this, and we did that, and we did this for you. And the information's there. People just didn't want to hear it. The message was said, but you just didn't want to listen to it. And they lectured people as if Americans are so dumb and so stupid. I mean, even in some of the conversations that I've had, people think that I'm dumb and stupid because I didn't graduate from college, or um, I'm not as politically savvy as you would think that I would be. But I'm just like, hold on, wait a minute. Like I'm not dumb, right? And people didn't fall prey to a lack of understanding statistics. It was the sentiment, right? It was the elitism of the Democratic Party that no longer speaks for the blue collar average American worker, right? And so it was the anti-establishment that I think people were ready for. They were done with the machine. They were ready to move on from that. And unfortunately, that's where we need to look inward. We need to look at how we failed the American people so that we can better earn their trust back. But to continue to dismiss them as uneducated and dumb or illiterate or ignorant in some way, we went from telling everybody that they're just racist and misogynist to now, oh, well, you're uneducated. You just don't understand the information as much. It's like, no, you fucking lie to us. So yeah, at this point, we don't want to hear your bullshit anymore. Look at how many people Tulsi Gabbard ran for president, was for the Democratic Party in 2020. She literally was one of the presidential candidates in 2020 for the Democratic Party. And then now she's here in Trump's cabinet. Like, there's a reason people like RFK Jr., who also has been misrepresented in the press and beaten up all over for what people want to brand him or label him as. And I saw this years ago, years ago, back when, I used to work with Jenny McCarthy. And I'm pretty sure me saying that name right now probably has triggered a lot of ideas of who you think that she is. And I saw this happening way back then, right? When she spoke out against the pharmaceutical industry and raised concerns about vaccines. And suddenly, the press made her out to be this anti vax quack when that was never her message. She shared the experience that she had with her son, who had an adverse reaction, immediately started having seizures right after. Read her book. I mean, you'll be heartbroken at her story, and all she did was tell her story and say, "Hey, maybe we should look at some of the ingredients in these shots. Like maybe we should, educate parents more on the pros and the cons and like let there be an open dialogue with their doctor, right? Rather than letting this be a blanket statement. And, she was a mother that raised concerns and they turned her into this anti-vax, which she has said repeatedly that was never her position, right? And so when I would see her travel the country and speak at these different conferences or give these press interviews, and she would be clipped out of context and they would take her words and misrepresent them because she went against an establishment that makes a lot of money and profits off of us staying sick. Yeah, that opened my eyes, and I didn't realize that these same tactics were still going on until I finally started to open my eyes to it again, and my eyes really started to open in 2020, and I just think it's dangerous, it's, irresponsible, and it's part of the reason why mainstream media is losing faith in the American people are losing faith in that mainstream media. It's unfortunate, but that's where you give somebody like a Joe Rogan the opportunity to then lead media with one of the number one podcasts in the world, whether you like him or not. He did something that tapped into people, and he didn't tap into just dumb people that want to listen to dumb echo chambers, right? He invites a diverse group of people onto his podcast to have different conversations. They're 2 to 3 hour long conversations where people can really get to know a person in that. So you have to look inward, and I get it. A lot of people are going to not be happy about the current president or who will soon be the current president come January, but it's like I would rather focus on the good rather than continuing to hyperbolize and exaggerate the bad, because all we do when we only focus on the bad, we have a bunch of darkness right in front of us, right? We can continue to only look into the darkness, or we can look for the slivers of light, because that's what keeps us going, right? When they say there's a light at the end of the tunnel, yeah, the tunnel feels dark when you're walking through it, but there's a light at the end, and that's what you have to focus on if you want to get through it. And so rather than feeding into people's anxieties and feeding into their depression by continuing to feed them this panic and fear, it's not healthy. And I will continue to speak out against that. And I'm sure I will get misrepresented. And I'm sure people will take my words out of context. Trust me, I've even seen some of the reviews that I've gotten on Apple. I hear you. I see you, you know? Listen, and I've always said people are not ready to hear the messages that they're not ready to hear. So if the message doesn't resonate with you, not on a Democrat or Republican level, not on a conservative or liberal level, or even as an independent, but just on a human level. If you can't see me as a person right now, and we can't just be two humans in this exchange where I'm sharing these words with you, from what I've witnessed and from what I've experienced in the past couple of years, then it's like I understand, and that's okay. And I will respect that. And we can, in some cases, agree to disagree. But, I hope one day you do open up your heart a little bit and open up your ears a little bit and are willing to listen, because, I'm reflecting what a lot of people are feeling. They just don't have a platform to share that. So that's all I got for you. Hopefully it resonated in some way. And if not, then be well. Have a good day. I'll see you I was gonna say see you tomorrow, but tomorrow's Friday. We don't typically have episodes on Friday, even though we have been having more episodes on Fridays. And I'm starting to think like, I wonder if Friday should be a new you know, a new vibe that we should be exploring, right? 5 days a week instead of 4 days a week. Am I crazy enough to be like, yeah, let's do 5 days a week and 2 days a week of the Pop Report and members only, and let's bring back Disaster Daters for season 3. You know? Michelle says, can we make an effort to not exaggerate the reaction of Democrats as a whole? Yes and no. Because unfortunately, that has been a loud message. And the message has been too loud. And so we need to kind of counter that with an equally loud message. So if you think that I'm being too critical on the Democratic Party, it's only because I believed in the Democratic Party and, had so much faith in it. But listen, I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna be honest. Give me a follow at Just Plain Zack. Follow the podcast at No Filter at Zack, and I will talk to you guys later. Ciao for now. Ciao for now. Bye bye bye. Michelle says, if Republicans don't want to be represented by the worst, then the Dems should get the same respect. Yes and no, but unfortunately, the Democratic Party has a big machine behind them like the press and like a lot of people that are very loud on social media. So unfortunately, they are not the minority, they are the majority of the people that feel this way. You may be in the minority that doesn't feel that way and that doesn't feel like you're represented by the Democratic Party, but it went from being a minority to now being the majority of the Democratic Party. So that's why. I hope that makes sense. All right. I love you. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a great weekend, guys, if I don't talk to you before then. And ciao for now.